I want to get to one quick instance of vintage. This is vintage by the book right-wing whining. We talked about on the bonus show last week about how Hank Williams Jr., of course, of Monday Night Football, Are You Ready for Some Football fame, was no longer going to be involved with ESPN because he compared Obama to Hitler. You remember that, Lewis. Mm-hmm. So now he's coming out, and in a very Dr. Laura Schlessinger-esque statement, saying his First Amendment rights have been violated by ESPN. And this is more confirmation that conservatives just don't understand what the First Amendment is, which is surprising because it's only like a sentence. Mm-hmm. It's not that complicated of an amendment.
Right.
He came out and he said that he basically his First Amendment rights were violated because ESPN fired him because he said incredibly offensive things, including comparing the president to Hitler.
Which is basically the same as him saying those things to me and me saying, I do not agree with you.
And saying, I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, the government has abridged my right to free speech. So This is Dr. Laura on Larry King when she went on an N-word-laced rant. What was it? It must have been a year ago. It might have even been more than that now.
Right, yeah.
She said her First Amendment rights were violated, and she was, I guess, going to quit radio to get those rights back.
Well, I'm here to say that my contract is up for my radio show at the end of the year, and I've made the decision not to do radio anymore. The reason is I want to regain my First Amendment rights. I want to be able to say what's on my mind and in my heart and what I think is helpful and useful without somebody getting angry, some special interest group deciding this is a...
Right. Somebody getting a special interest group called all black people and plenty of people who aren't black but are sensitive to racism. That's the special interest group, apparently. And this is just... It's if you don't get it, I'm not going to be able to convince you, I think. And Hank Williams Jr. saying, after reading hundreds of emails, I have made my decision. I'm pulling, by pulling my opening October 3rd, ESPN stepped on the toes of the First Amendment freedom of speech. The First Amendment is not actually that complicated, I hate to tell you. You can read it from start to finish in about 10 seconds. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. There's nothing in there about ESPN can't fire you for saying incredibly insensitive things. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in there about whoever it was that Dr. Laura worked for is not going to renew your contract. Actually, it was her choice not to renew. People seem to think that when you say something offensive and therefore the public tide turns against you and the company fires you, that it's the government abridging free speech. That's what the First Amendment is about. Do conservatives really not understand the First Amendment? I thought they were about free speech.
I don't know, Dave. But maybe we can clarify it.
What I'm saying is, do they not understand it, or do they assume other people won't understand it when they claim their free speech rights were taken away?
Well, if I had to choose between one of the two, I'd say that clearly it's a lack of understanding.
On their part.
Right.
Right. It's not tricky where they get it, but they hope nobody else does.
Right.
Unbelievable. Somebody please tell me whether you think this is a parody, because I can't imagine. If you were to parody a misunderstanding of the First Amendment, it would be indistinguishable from Dr. Laura or Hank Williams Jr.
Right. When your First Amendment rights are violated, what will happen is that you will end up in a court of law being fined, prosecuted, and possibly jailed, or, your lips sewn shut together by the government.
Simply for saying something.
Simply for saying something. That's what happens when your First Amendment rights are violated.
All right, let's take a break. On the bonus show today, we will talk about Lewis's ongoing issues with the Best of the Left podcast promos. We'll talk about Lewis's upcoming trip and possible bathhouse visits. Also, a barber accidentally shot in the buttocks, and a medical marijuana job fair. A lot happening. DavidPakman.com/membership. Back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.